Alright, so the man standing across from me right now is Dan Klosterman. Now, Dan and I have some history together. We competed against each other in the previous Revolution 50, where he almost broke my arm, but I skated by on points. Now, if you guys watched the intro, then it was foreshadowed that he does collect my arm this time, but let's figure out how I got there, why I got there, and what mistake led me to getting submitted. So for my starting move, I'm going to pull guard. I've had a lot of success pulling guard today. But Dan does something pretty interesting here. Notice as I pull, he split squats, pushing his hips into my foot, and then you'll see him start to cut this angle by backstepping with his right leg, which will take the foot off of his hip and allow him to start working on cutting an angle to try to pass my guard. However, in this transition, he does make a huge mistake right here. As you can see, he has this collar grip, and he's trying to use this to get down chest to chest. However, I have my right leg not only in front of him, but I have it pocketed under his armpit. And what I'm going to do with that is, because he's so committed to the collar grip and he's trying to get down chest to chest and lowering his head level, I'm going to collect his head and shoot my thigh right behind his neck. Now, I'm sure many of you, and especially if you watch this channel, you know where this is going, but for people that can't see the vision yet, there's a triangle coming. Now, we're in a fairly odd position, but what I'm going to start doing is locking up this triangle. Then if you guys watch the previous match commentary or the vlog, you'll see that there is a body lock triangle on the way as well. So what I'm going to start doing is using my right hand to underhook his hip and then start to gable grip my hands around his torso. So I have a triangle with a body lock, and this should be enough to tap him. However, Dan notices this and starts catching on pretty early. So before I'm able to lock my hands, he rolls forward. And this is where I made the biggest mistake that literally took me from the finals to 5th place. Now, what I have right now is a rear triangle. I have my legs locked around his head and arm. However, it's on the back side of his neck. So the easiest way to finish here is just to simply Kimura grip this top arm and sit back for an armbar. And it's one of the most structural positions and submissions that you can really achieve in jiu-jitsu. It's so hard to get out of this. Because I felt so secured in this position, I thought I could go for, a little bit of style points and try to attack this body lock still. And keep in mind, it is not there anymore, but I'm going to start to reach up and try to grab around his torso. And the problem is, Dan finds his hand into the inside position on my armpit, and he uses this to push me up. And in this transition here, I stumble, my rear triangle unlocks, and I lose what would have been an almost guaranteed submission. And I get 2 points for the takedown, but I go into his close guard. And this is where things start to look really bad. And we have to acknowledge that Dan is a fucking monster. And, playing into my game, I'm good. And playing into his game, he's going to catch me just as well as I caught him. However, the difference is he's not letting his shit go. So from close guard, he's going to start working on attacking this triangle. And, triangles are my favorite submission. It's my thing. So I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm getting tapped out to a triangle. So my defense here is going to consist of my knee going right up his ass as I try to poke my head out. And he doesn't really have a good lock on the triangle or a lot of pressure to finish because my head is peeking out and I'm using my knee to push his hips off of me. So I'm going to be able to escape the triangle, but he's going to start transitioning into the omoplata here. And while I'm not too afraid of the omoplata, I can feel the way his body is positioning that he's about to start attacking this armbar. And he has such a deep latch onto this arm where if I try to yank out, I'm afraid he's going to find my wrist and really crank on it on the way out. But he ends up toppling me. And at this point, I knew it was over because he got my arm once. I know he's not going to let it go a second time. So he's going to finish me here with an armbar. Now, this one hurt a lot because not only was he my rival, but this was my first submission loss since July of 2022. So I've lost to points and I've lost to decisions, but I have not been submitted in a tournament for quite a while. And you know what? I appreciate that it was against Dan. I knew he's a high-level guy. I'm glad I lost to somebody that is, I believe, is really good. So, but that'll do it for the gi bracket. We are coming up into the Nogi bracket, and on top of that, my first advanced division and my first time fighting a black belt. So if you guys are interested in watching that this Friday, I'm gonna have the vlog out, and then I'll get into the match commentaries later that week.